All right, let's get right into it. When you think about making more money in farming, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of people, it's pretty simple. Get more land. But what if I told you that the most profitable apple growers out there aren't winning with more space, they're winning with smarter trees? And that right there, that's the huge shift we're going to unpack. We're moving on from the old playbook that says profit is all about scale, just adding more and more acres. The new idea, the one that's driving some absolutely incredible returns, is all about intensity and, well, intelligence. It's about winning with smarter trees, not just more dirt. So what is the big promise of all this? I mean, just imagine it for a second. Fitting way more trees into the exact same space, getting them to pump out fruit years earlier, and seeing a much, much faster and higher return on your investment. That, in a nutshell, is the high-density promise. Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got your traditional orchard. Big, sprawling trees that take up a ton of room. But on the right, it's a whole different ballgame. We have more trees, sure, but they're smaller, and that's because they're on these special rootstocks, that's the engine of the tree, that keeps their size in check. They're all trained up neatly on a trellis. It's kind of like the difference between a sprawling suburb and a super efficient, well-planned city. And let's be clear, in farming, time is literally money. Every day, your investment is just sitting in the ground, it's costing you. So getting to a crop you can actually sell and getting that cash flowing sooner, well, that's not just a little bonus. It can fundamentally change the entire economic picture of your business. It's a game changer. Okay, so earlier cash flow is the goal. But how do we get there? What actually makes this system tick? Let's unpack the 4 key profit drivers that make this whole thing so powerful. This is where the magic and the money really happens. First up, early bearing. These systems are designed from the ground up to produce fruit way earlier in the orchard's life. That means you start paying back those huge setup costs years sooner than you would in an old-school system. You're basically shrinking your window of financial risk, and that is a huge deal. Number 2 is yield efficiency. Think of sunlight as the fuel for your factory. These narrow, tall canopies in a high-density orchard, they're like perfectly angled solar panels. They soak up way more sunlight per acre and turn that light into fruit more efficiently. So it's not just about having more trees, it's about making every single square foot of your land work that much harder for you. The third driver is all about quality. Because the light gets to all the fruit evenly, you get more consistent apples. We're talking better color, uniform size, and a much higher percentage of your crop ending up in that premium box. And we all know what premium fruit means, right? Premium prices. This is about maximizing the value of every apple, not just the volume. And finally, number 4, labor efficiency. Let's face it, labor is one of the biggest line items on any farm's budget. With smaller, more manageable trees, jobs like pruning and harvesting get way faster and a whole lot safer. Less time climbing up and down ladders means more time being productive. This system is designed for people, not just for trees. Okay, so this all sounds pretty incredible, doesn't it? Earlier profits, bigger yields, better quality, lower labor costs. It almost sounds a little too good to be true. And that, of course, brings us to the really important question. So what's the catch? Well, here it is. The catch is that this is a high-stakes game. The very same things that let your profits multiply can also multiply the cost of your mistakes. This is where the dream of high returns meets the cold, hard reality of execution. The barrier to entry, financially speaking, is pretty steep. You're buying a lot more trees per acre for starters. Then you're investing in a serious support structure. We're talking posts, wires, the whole trellis system. Plus a precision irrigation setup to feed all those hungry trees. It's a massive capital investment before you've even picked a single apple. And here's the line you really need to remember. In a traditional orchard, if you make a planting mistake, you might waste a few years of production. But in a high-density system, with all that money tied up from day one, a planting mistake doesn't just waste time, it burns through cash, and it burns through it fast. The stakes are just so much higher. But listen, high stakes doesn't have to mean high failure. It just means you absolutely need a better playbook. So let's flip the script and talk about that precision playbook, how the best growers manage these risks and turn those massive upfront costs into consistently high returns. It all starts right here. This is probably the single most important decision you'll make. You see, a lot of people ask, hey, what's the best rootstock? But the smart grower asks this question. It's not about what's trendy, it's about what actually fits your specific farm, your climate, your soil, and your ability to manage it. Answering this one question honestly is what protects your entire investment. Next up is the spacing dilemma. This is a total balancing act.
If you plant your trees too far apart, you spend all this money on a high-density system, but you aren't actually getting the density. You lose all the benefits. But if you plant them too tight, the trees start to crowd each other out, they fight for sunlight, airflow goes down, and your fruit quality suffers. Finding that just right sweet spot is an absolutely critical calculation.
Pruning in these systems, it's not just about cutting off a few branches here and there. It's really more like being an architect. From the moment that tiny tree goes into the ground, you are actively shaping its structure for one main purpose: profit. You're building a framework that perfectly balances growing the tree with growing fruit, and you're making sure sunlight, your money-making fuel, can get everywhere it needs to for the entire life of that orchard. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine two growers, both with the exact same piece of land. Grower A is reactive. You know the type. They kind of let things get a little overgrown and then try to come back and fix it later. But Grower B is proactive. They're out there from year one, making small, precise adjustments, always thinking ahead to maintain that perfect balance of light and growth. And the result? They're farming the exact same land with the exact same potential, but I guarantee you their income statements at the end of the year look wildly different. And that difference? It's created entirely by their management philosophy.
And the playbook doesn't stop there, of course. This precision has to extend to everything, from giving the trees water and nutrients exactly when they need them, to strategically managing how many apples are on each tree, and even planting the specific varieties that you know your market wants and is willing to pay top dollar for. So when you put all of these cases together, you start to realize this isn't just a new way to plant trees, it is a completely new mindset for farming. And really embracing that mindset, that is the true key to unlocking this system's incredible potential.
This quote really says it all. You have to stop thinking about it as high-density farming. Instead, start thinking of it as a precision orchard business. That word business changes everything. It implies planning, measuring, discipline, and a relentless focus on your return on investment. That's the core idea.
So, if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. You can't just buy a high-density system and expect it to start printing money for you. The profit isn't magically hiding in the trees or the trellis. It is earned through those daily, weekly, and yearly acts of precise, thoughtful management. Understanding that distinction, well, that is everything.
Which really just leaves us with one final crucial question to think about. The question isn't whether the system can be profitable. We know it can be. The real question is a much more personal one. Is your business, and more importantly, are you, ready for precision?